That's actually an ls, never type ls again. I've written a web-based shell and editor for Linux and Mac OS. I would just like to quote Russ Cox and say, yes, I'm nervous. Programming and presenting aren't really, they're kind of orthogonal skills, so I apologize for any flaws in my presentation. So anyway, never typing ls again is sort of more of an aspiration than a reality, but you can reduce it. As an overview, NTLA is sort of a shell as web app. A server runs on your computer under your own user ID like a regular shell. Instead of a terminal, you interact with it via your browser. You can easily navigate your directory tree by point and click. The server runs commands and streams you the output over a WebSocket. And the command and the command output are saved to a persistent database. So here's sort of a screenshot. It's a little small, but you see a couple of commands that I had been running while I was building this presentation. I'll get into this more in a bit. You see a directory listing and a place to enter commands. So a brief live demo. So let's see. This is not the way I'm used to looking at it, but you see sort of a menu up here. See if I can grow this a bit. A menu bar with not a lot on it. You can run the date command. It saves the output of the command. It allows you to run it again easily. It tells you when you started and when you finished and how long it took, which are always things that I frequently tend to want to see in my shell. So let's see. I also wanted to show a directory. You can easily look at the directory tree. The directory tree is clickable. All these buttons are clickable, so you can easily navigate your current directory and easily see other directories that you have used in the past. So I've just been trying to, for my own use, make my use of my own shell a little friendlier than a scroll from the bottom TTY. As motivation, I got tired of navigating my directory tree by CD, ls, CD, ls, CD, so that got tedious. I wanted something clickable. Some people hate the mouse. I have a love-hate relationship with the mouse. I wanted to be able to color my directory listing with CSS as opposed to like ls colors and some fairly obscure DSL. I wanted to save my command and their output to a persistent database, which has been handy at times. It's sort of like scroll back for your terminal or your screen session, only a little more persistent. I wanted to edit remote files locally and then save them back to the remote system. I do a lot of my work over SSH sessions, and it seems silly that all too often I had to deal with lag and VPNs and all kinds of stupid things during my editing session. I would rather load the file locally, edit it locally, and send it back. And also, I've done some hacking on Vim and some hacking on Vim internals. And Vim is a great editor. I do love it. I've actually sponsored it a lot. But Vim internals are kind of crazy, and I'm not a fan of Vim script, and I'd rather hack on CodeMirror in JavaScript. Moving along. So the directory listing has some nice features. Just client-side, you can click on any of the column headers, and it'll sort in place. So for example, I have a screenshot here of it sorted by name, and then sorted by name in reverse. You can filter by name. There's a field where you can just type in the filter. It'll filter all that client-side. You can filter by the name. It'll filter by the modification time. It'll basically look for the string that you type in any of the columns. And that's all client-side without hitting the server. You can click on any of these directory components, which makes it easy to navigate wherever you are. You can run a command, as I showed. It shows you the start, stop, and duration time. Let's see, you can filter the command history, which is something that I haven't seen other shells do. So you can go down to the window and say, show me commands where I had that in the command. This is obviously kind of a contrived example, but it's handy at other times. When was I running this? And if you click on that, once you filtered it, it'll put it into your command editor for further editing. You can also filter on your command output. So again, while I was building this presentation, I was doing some stuff with the database, and I searched for command history, and then search for command history in the editor, in the browser, and it highlighted all the places. But these are all commands, all the places in the command output where the word command history was in the output. So filtering on output can be fun. More to the point, can be useful. You can make a table in place if you have delimited output. You can press T, it'll make a table, which can be very handy when you're dealing with comma delimited output or pipe delimited or whatever you have. Again, I just wanted to make my shell a little more useful, a little more user-friendly than trying to load it into Excel every time I wanted to look at a table. You can press E to edit something in place. This is the previous commands that I've edited out into just the third column. That's sort of, I admit, that's kind of an experimental feature. Sometimes I wanted it in my regular TTY-based shell, so I added it to this. It can be useful. For all of us Gophers, you can run Go easily. I actually use a product I found called Gore, which makes scripting Go a little more easy. You can just say P to print. You can also run Go directly. This should look pretty familiar, and it's 8-bit clean, I think, is the appropriate adjective. So let's see, you can run, pardon me, you can run JavaScript. So I occasionally have to do math right on my command line, which it struck me as annoying that you can't normally do that. Anyway, so you can do math, or more to the point, you can actually modify your history from a previous command. So for example, this one is index 38. Whoops. So I've referenced history item 38, looked for the select string, joined it with a new line, and printed it out again, and then made a table out of it. So again, you can modify some of your output in place. And finally, you can edit a file in the command browser. Sorry, in the directory browser, you can click on any file. It'll open it in an editor. I'm almost done. So as resources, you can look at any of these. So I'm done. So Google NTLA shell. Are there any questions? Thank you.